All right. Hey, okay. We are on. I see some live streaming. Okay. Listen, we are live on Hallelujah. We want y'all to tag and post and share. Please do so as soon as you can. We're getting ready to get on the radio station. You can also listen live at WTAL1450.com. So go online, or listen live through the Facebook platform. We look forward to an awesome conversation. As you see, we have a power pack panel here waiting to discuss business related things with you all. Hopefully, it'll energize you at the end of the year and give you a few tips on how you can maximize your productivity in the upcoming year. So stay tuned, tag, share with a friend. We'll be with you shortly. All right.
All right.
Thanks, Shaquille. Have mercy. Okay.
I love the end of year conversations.
Me too.
They're so good. Just necessary reminders.
It's good afternoon, good evening to all of you who are listening within the Panhandle, Northwest, North Central Florida region. We are so glad to have you tuned in. If you are under the sound of my voice, you will know this is not Pastor Greg James. This is Christy Henry, and you are tuned into the Conscious Check with Christy Henry at the Greg James Community Show. We are so glad to have you all tuned in with us this afternoon. If you're driving, please stop texting. Please stop looking at TikTok. Go ahead and pay attention to the road because it is the holidays and people are driving crazy. I just got here earlier and a guy just I guess he just felt like he just wanted to turn when he wanted to turn, and it was a red light, and everybody, including me, was like, oh, let's let him just be great this afternoon. So y'all watch out for the traffic. Defensive driving is the key. We want to also make sure that you all are being safe. You're being safe with your celebratory activities. Please make sure you activate Uber and Lyft if you're outside celebrating this season. We definitely look forward to having a safe and wonderful end of the year and culminating into the first of the year. It's December, y'all. So we are so glad to have you here. If you don't know, the Conscious Check with Christy Henry at the Greg James Community Show airs every second Wednesday of the month. So you can tune in here in the upcoming year, and we're going to have some excellent guests, excellent conversation. And I guess we're kicking that off today because I think we have two fantastic personalities, advocates, just resources with our community to talk about something that I believe is extremely important, which is planning well and ending well. We know that when you begin to build, and this is biblical, you have to be able to count whether you have sufficient to cover the cost of what it is to build. And the end of the year is a great time to take that tally, right? It's a great time to look at all the things that you have accomplished through the years, all the things that you've been able to do, all the mistakes and things that might have happened, and to look at those things objectively and see that as the story of the year. And 2024 has been a year for a lot of folks. So we definitely want to send a great shout out of encouragement to all of our business owners. If you know a business owner, please tag and share today's broadcast. I pray and hope they'll find great encouragement and great energy from the guests on our show today. Also, if you are tuned in to many of the holiday events that are going on, there's a lot of great giveaways, a lot of toy drives, a lot of opportunities to serve others. Shout out to Daryl Jones and friends for the magnificent toy drive that was done on this weekend for families being served by the Tallahassee Housing Authority. Shout out to Marche's Catering, who does his toy drive every year in partnership with the community to help and to support families in need throughout the season. And all of the great, magnificent, there's a lot of great, magnificent efforts, but I always love the champions, the one that's just done by people, regular people who just want to see a positive change in their community. So if you're out there and you're doing one, shout out, encouragement, blessings to you. If you want to participate in one, tag in, look at Facebook. It's a million of them. It's a million toy drives out there, okay? It's a million.
They all have some toes.
Okay. Okay, it's a million. So please, tag into the needs there. It's getting cold. Babies need some coats. It's a lot of needs out there. So there are a lot of needs out there. So please tag into some of these movements and do your part. And we look forward to making sure that our whole community is covered. So with no further ado, I want to make sure that we use our hour wisely because I think it's going to go by real quick. I have here in the studio today, our topic today is going to be dealing with businesses and how you finish strong. We always talk about starting well, but there's such a thing as finishing strong. And we're going to talk about what that looks like today for business owners. And this is for y'all that have your Mary Kay hustle. This is y'all that got your little side gig cooking cake. This is for y'all that got your small business you've been running pretty successfully for the last 3, 5, 7 years. This is also for you seasoned folks that's been in business for a while and you just do things how you do them, but you may want to take them to the next level in terms of planning and productivity. We hope today's show is for you. I'd like to welcome 2 people who are no stranger to this community, who are not strangers to this community, but I want to make sure I set them up properly so that y'all can know what a tremendous resource they can be for you as we move forward in the conversation today. Mr. Terrence L. Barber, who wears a lot of hats lately, but most importantly, he serves as the Community Development Director of Community Development for Loyalty Credit Union. But his founded initiative has been Working Class Wednesdays, which has taken from nonprofits to for-profits to startup enterprises to wannabe entrepreneurs to interns to bringing everybody together to celebrate this thing called work, right? And bringing all the classes of working people together, right? To network and to build good energy with one another. And y'all are celebrating today 8 years in entrepreneurial ministry.
Yeah,
all right, we're gonna call him Reverend Barber.
Pastor James said the Bishop of Business. The Bishop of Business. Thank you so much.
Look,
Thank you so much.
y'all ain't ordained and no new ones.
No,
Okay,
no.
all right. Listen, a much needed service, a much needed awareness in the community as a whole. I think a lot of people have a lot of gifts and talents, but they kind of need that vessel where they can funnel it through a process called the market, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what you do. That's what you are helping along with a lot of other contiguous efforts to make sure that people can get their gifts, their talents, their passions, and funnel it into the systems that bring about market results and market productivity and profit. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
8 years, y'all. 8 years.
8 years.
Some people don't stay married that long, so y'all need to give it up. All right, and then we have my good friend, who I am truly an admirer of as well, Miss Audra Fournier. She is a business coach, a master business coach. She owns and is the principal of Partners for a Solution. She also is an investment. She does real estate investment and investment. She coordinates investments through a various private entity that she works with. We'll talk a little bit about that. But she also owns her own building that she subs out and co-ops other businesses to use and to rent her space. So listen, I think we have what we need in the house to have this conversation today.
Yeah.
Welcome you both. And I just want to give you both the opportunity to just talk about you and business. Where you're at with how businesses are perceived locally, where you're at in terms of your own kind of entrepreneurial corporate development, and where you see it heading moving forward.
Ladies first.
Thanks. Thank you so much for having both of us on the show. I'm a huge admirer of both of you and what you give back to the community and just fostering engagement and encouragement for business owners because it's tough. It is rough out there. Yes, it is. Being a business owner is not easy. It's definitely driven by passion. That is the foundation of mine. So I help business owners be better business owners and build better businesses to help them thrive, to give them the resources, the confidence, the mentorship, the advisory side. Everything that I do feeds into that space.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we started a co-working space because, you know, what we do as business owners is we recognize an opportunity in the community and then we try to fulfill that. So Terrence recognized an opportunity in the community that business owners need support.
Right.
And so for the last 8 years, he's fulfilled that. So we go around and we try to find these opportunities. Sometimes they're real estate. So like you said, you know, me and my siblings, which a lot of people can't do family businesses, and we happen to do a family business really well, and I love it. And so we invest in things together. We find opportunities out there to help the community and to build wealth in various ways. But generally, my day today is, my question is, how can I help? What do you need? And is there something in my environment that I can lend to you to help you grow? Then that's the happy space that I love to be in.
Yes.
That's where I find my purpose. So that's what I do.
That is some purpose.
A lot.
Business it's hard. And it takes a different personality, right?
Absolutely.
It takes a different personality. And so for you, same deal.
Yeah, I think my calling has been like Audrey says, to help people. Like how are we able to help? And of course, with the various hats that I'll start with the credit union. I am the community development director, and I'm able to speak with a lot of people about the importance of personal credit as it pertains to business credit and how to structure your business for business accounts and lending and things of that nature, and also with Working Class Wednesday, we create a platform for people, because I have extensive background, I think, in marketing and branding, and the importance of getting the word out about your business. Now that you have this great idea, now that you've invested all of this money, how can we position you to make this profitable? And a lot of times people just, we fail to plan. We don't plan to fail. So I think that's where a lot of the work that I do bridges that gap.
So let me throw this out here to you. Small businesses in Tallahassee, there's a lot of them. There's a lot that have been in business for decades, hand down, you know, generational businesses. There's also that startup, entrepreneurial, first generation, first thrust. These are folks that have transitioned primarily from some type of employment situation that they either enjoyed and it ran its course, or they were forced out of, or they're looking for some vehicle for economic mobility, right? Talk a little bit about the reality of running a business. And I'm going to say in reality, in the Tallahassee market service area.
Thank you for that nod. You know, on the radio, that you can't see that nice little gentle nod. Like, go for it, girlfriend. So I think
don't get yourself in trouble, right?
I'm gonna try real hard not to. So I find that the Tallahassee small business market is very interesting. So like you said, we have generational businesses, family businesses that have been passed down. But as of the last probably 5 or 6 years, Tallahassee has become, or tried to position itself to be a think tank.
Okay.
Right? To take resources that we educate, or take talent that we educate, provide them resources through things like Domi Station, SBDC, the Jim Moran Institute, and feed into them, pour into them to help them and encourage them to start businesses.
Okay.
We also have state agency, right? We are known as state agency, state government, and universities. The challenge with that is that when you live and work in a bureaucracy for an extended period of time, you get burnt out and you have no control of your own time, no control of your own money. So then the only outlet that's foreseeable, looking at all of these individuals that have, you know, all of these resources for startup, is to potentially start your own business. So we then have those level of resources, adult individuals that are just fed up of working for other people, right? Which I totally get. I mean, I am, you know, welcome to me. I got a problem with authority, which is why I don't have a boss. Except for my siblings, which, you know, that can be a good and bad thing.
That's right.
So you've got these intermoving parts, and all of them need resources, but sometimes they're different types of resources. So then finding ways to foster and encourage that, because small businesses are the most mobile, pivotal. They employ lots and lots of people. They provide the services. In our capacity, and I'm speaking for you, and I'm sorry for that. In my capacity, my job is to help those individuals in whatever stage they're in.
Right.
If they've been in business for 10 years and they've reached the ceiling of their own capacity, where their knowledge is no longer functioning, they need outside resources, is to come in and provide those resources for them.
Oh, wow.
So I hope that answers your question.
No, that's good, that's good. So,
Yeah. So that's hard act to follow. But, and I'll speak to Tallahassee, but of course it's like this all over this country right now. And of course, like Audra says, a lot of folks have these ideas that they want to turn into profitable businesses and entities that will then sustain the life that they want. But we also have to understand that we can't create an influx of individual entities in certain industries. And I think that's what I see on the flip side of all of the opportunities, a lot of the obstacles that I see a lot of small business run into is there a market for this great idea that you have, or have I compared the mom and pop car wash that I want to start against all of the drive-through car washes that are popping up in the convenience that they offer? Have I compared my prices? Have I done this analysis? Have I utilized the resources like the SBDC and all of the chambers and things that are in place to ensure that of course we all have a lot of great ideas, but like Christique said, like we have businesses that the same business that we have that have been in business for 30 years, we have businesses that go out of business in 3 months.
Yep.
So we need to make sure that we're doing our research and crossing our T's and dotting our I's, because we can't always focus on the opportunity and not think about the challenges that we face. And creating these sort of strategic plans to ensure that we don't run into these roadblocks head on. We kind of see them along the way, and we're able to pivot. And I think right now what I see in this community and in other communities is that folks are having to pivot. And I think that's one of the most important things as a small business owner in this community you can do right now, is make sure that you're not so nearsighted that you don't see the challenges that you may face down the road.
So let's talk about the challenges, and then I'm going to close out this conversation general at 2:30 because I want to get into moving forward, right? Okay. If you look at Tallahassee's MSA, we have been ranked nationally in terms of economic strength, and according to the 2023 Leading Metro Locations Report. Okay. We also have major industry being the government, which employs 64,700 people. We have a very high education and health service industry sector that employs about 27,800 people. We have leisure and hospitality that employs here 20,700 people. We have professional and business services, which employs 28,300 employees as of June 2024. All of this is as of June 2024. Okay, so we have over 22,000 small businesses. Let me say that again.
Say it again.
We have, according to the NAICS website, which is where people get their NAIC designation, we have over 22,000 small businesses in the Tallahassee market metro service area. Okay, listen, is that a big number? That's huge for an area with a population, quite frankly, of maybe around 400,000.
And that's when transit population is in Tallahassee.
Come on now.
When we have all of the students and everyone in Tallahassee, it's that size. When they're not, it's only about 250,000. So that's what, 10% of the population of Tallahassee has their own business? That's significant.
That's significant. Okay, so let me just shoot, and it actually was a little closer to 23,000 if I'm thinking about the number for real. I'm giving some plus and minuses, right? But when we talk about businesses and their impact to our local, that's what I want to get across, right? I know I throw a lot of data out there, but what I really want to say is that these small businesses are 10%. These small business owners are 10% of our local population.
That calculation's right? I did that on top of my
head. Plus 9 to 10, all right? So
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. That is a lot, and many of them employ like maybe 1 to 5
a lot of soul
people.
Right,
and their significant others, and sometimes their children. I mean, when we get into family businesses, you've got, you have whole households that are supported under that.
And it's foundational. And we got to think about a lot of these folks have actual 9-to-5 jobs and also own and operate profitable businesses. A lot of times, folks, we're talking about how it's so hard, inflation and everything else. It's so hard to sustain a one income households
Yep.
right now.
Yep.
A lot of folks are not, they ain't getting married, they starting businesses.
That's
So
right.
they got a job and a business.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if I hate this idea.
Well, I think the real exciting part of this is that people say there's not room to grow. There is room to grow. I think that the data shows that there's a market here, right? So people say there's no market. There's market here. Now there is market dilution. Like I could swing a bat and get a piece of chicken anywhere in Tallahassee, right?
Or find a lawn guy.
Or find a lawn in Tallahassee, right? I mean,
In both of those situations, not all choices are great.
right. And chicken is important. So, you know, so it's lawn service. But the deal is I think that when we talk about businesses, we need that picture. We need the full picture of what the real demographic is. That startled me when I saw that 22,000 number. I was like, oh, wait, that's a lot
That's a
of people,
lot of people.
right? But then when you talk about a in population outside of student occupancy of 250,000, and then you're talking about the surrounding area, which is an additional 100,000. So really, you're talking about 350 to 400, possibly closer to 400 for 425.
Right.
That's a lot of people.
That's right.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot
A
of
lot of opportunity.
a,
A lot of opportunity.
that's a lot of opportunity. So when you talk about business planning and closeout, right? You're talking about the activities that you have done to reach all the people with the service that you offer, right? And you're talking about, and some of us aren't intentional. We just happen to have our lawnmower, or we happen to have our fryer to do our chicken, and we're just calling our friends to come by, right? But how do we get folk into a mindset of
Operational.
operationalization?
Yeah.
I can't say that for the life of me. Like that thing just won't come out. But it's a long word, but it's a meaningful word, right? Because it has in there intentionality. I intend to be profitable. I'm not just doing something I have a passion to do. I'm bringing a service to almost 300, 400,000 people within the community that I live in. How do we get people to a mindset of that?
I had a CPA tell me once, is this a business or is it a hobby?
Oh,
I was like,
I'm snapping.
ouch.
Great question.
Because I think when it's a hobby, there's less intentionality, there's less systems and processes. When it's a business, when it contributes monetarily to your household, when it matters, when you have to take it into consideration via time and money and expense, contribution, health and well-being, then you look at it differently. And the activity that goes with it, you look at differently.
Yes.
So you have to first and foremost decide, is this a business or is this a hobby?
Ooh, that's good right there.
That's tough.
And I think that all begins with the foundation and creating an actual structure for your business. And how do you determine the success? Like a lot of times, as Audra said, if it's a hobby, you'll be less likely to say, okay, I need to allocate X, Y, and Z to this because, okay, I'm gonna have to take this out and pay myself this. Well, I can't pay myself this month because I got to take care of this. But if it's a hobby, a lot of times, oftentimes we don't have those key performance indicators to kind of let us know, is this even worth me continuing? Because I know we got these big numbers, but a lot of these numbers, these just because of the big data, doesn't mean that these individuals are doing, the work, because a lot of times we do have business owners that are actually, is hobbyist a word? Is hobbyist?
It is
You just made up words. Yes, sir. Hobbyist, y'all.
Hobbyist.
Terrence L. Bar.
Hobbyist.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, and I think that's what setting goals and creating structure and defining what success in your business actually looks like. And that's on paper. A lot of times we have these great ideas, and we, like you said, we got us a chicken fryer, we got us a lawnmower, so we just going around. Matter of fact, we taking cash for these lawns, and we just put them in our pocket or put them in a jar. We're not even really counting the money. We're not setting goals a lot of times for these smaller businesses. And I know, because I got some cousins and stuff.
Come on now,
And I've been one.
I've
been one. I operated a car wash on the south side for a long time. Okay, I couldn't tell you how much money I made month to month. I knew I had enough to pay my bills.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I didn't understand. A lot of times that's what our parents do for a lack of knowledge. But the resources are here. So that's one things I would like to drive home today. Folks, if you have questions, there's a lot of absolutely free. If you can't afford Audra in that MBA, she'll direct.
That's not very fair. I give a lot for free. I do.
Well, y'all heard it here first, baby. Listen.
Listen, I want to go back and
Listen, I do.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, Terrence, about that big word operationalization. I'm gonna like say that like 90 times, so it will roll off instead of be forced. Sometimes we can't have capitalization until we have operationalization.
Absolutely.
Right?
Well done.
And so, you heard me. I'm taking the time.
Yeah.
We can't have that, right? And so we talk about the lack of capital in certain areas of our community. We talk about the lack of capital for certain types of businesses in our community. And I mean, make it plain. You ain't got to throw nobody under the bus, and please don't call no names. But talk about that necessary balance between asking for money and having a plan for the money once it's there, because that's really the definition of both of those terms.
And I want to take it a step back and make sure you ask, but when you're setting up your business, when you come up with this, ask somebody that knows something. Like y'all wouldn't believe how many people I have around me that make me look smart. Because I know when to ask a question. When I was setting up my business, I knew to call a CPA. When I had questions about my financials, I knew who to call. And I think a lot of times we're afraid to ask questions. And that is one of the biggest hindrances that I've seen for small businesses when it comes to capitalization is their operationalization.
Systems and processes.
The systems and processes aren't in place.
Come on now.
And I think that's, like I said, once again, due to a lack of knowledge, and it's nobody's fault but their own. And I speak and talk to a lot of people and I can convey what I've gone through in my experiences, but of course I'm not as versed in each and every industry. So, but there are resources. There are resources to get you set up because there's a lot of opportunity, a lot of money comes through, a lot of grant opportunities, a lot of micro lending opportunities. Yes. A lot of folks just won't be able to qualify for because you didn't ask the right question.
When you set up. So you don't have systems and processes.
And
there you go.
So when you get to the end of the year, you don't really have nothing you can pull to audit to see how you did.
Last year you were so scared to owe the IRS that all of the tax returns. What can I? We'll talk about that.
Listen. No, that's a piece of
that's all. You
that's
can't
right.
be a business owner and telling the government that you didn't make no money, and then you want to come and borrow money. How you gonna pay us back? If you didn't make, you keep the last 5. I done pulled every tax return you got, and on every last one of them, you done charged off every single thing that you said you did not make or what you did make, but now you want you got to make money.
I think that is so important what you're saying.
It's very important.
It's very important because a lot of businesses and Audrey, you can speak on this as well. A lot of businesses do try to minimize their tax burden, and they don't understand a tax burden is a proof that you are profitable.
That you made money.
Yeah, absolutely. 2 things. First, you'd be surprised how many professionals of every level are willing to take your call and answer a question.
Right.
Because we are part of the community too, and we want our community to be successful. And in order to do that, we have to help and foster anybody that's got a question. So first and foremost.
Right.
And second, yes, there's this old wives' tale that your bottom line should be 0 so that you don't have to pay the tax man anything. But if you are a sole proprietor and you want to go and buy a house, you have to show an income, and it can't be just random draws off of your company like it's paying your car payment. It needs to be a salary, and your business should be making money, because otherwise there's nothing for the bank to say, oh yeah, they have enough money to pay us back, we'll give them a loan, no problem.
Right.
And we have to wrap our head around that having a 0 bottom line is, yes, it saves us the tax bill, but it's so much more challenging for everything else. So absolutely right, Terrence. I mean, I stand behind that 100%.
You just said something so key that we have to wrap around our heads that this business is an operation to make money.
Yeah.
And that part of the expense of that business is you.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right? So when they say someone, oh, I can't pay myself this much. No.
You're an
No.
expense.
I am an expense of this business,
Absolutely.
right? Because indeed the business has to be profitable, but guess what? There's things I need to do on my personal side, and I can't buy everything in the name of the business, my personal house, my personal car, because I haven't paid myself from the business. So I can't even track how the business has benefited me, because I'm bankrolling on the business, right?
Yeah.
This is, first of all, I just want to just give a disclaimer. This is probably a 2 or 3 part conversation, but we're in the first part. So, but we can't get to close out until we have set up and processes.
That's right.
We can't get to, if we don't have QuickBooks, we don't have no books to look at
That's
the
right.
end of the year,
That's
right?
right.
We can't see who we've paid. And one thing that I do every year when we do our closeout is I am just amazed at how much my small business pays to other small businesses.
Oh, 100%. Oh, totally. So many apps and services and printing and, you know, all of these things.
Subs and
Yes, yes, and the photographers and all of the local people that benefit. You don't think about that, right? You don't think about the vehicle that your small business plays and being able to crank the cog of the engine of our whole local economy. So that
That's right.
22,000 plus number we talked about, that's a tremendous number
Absolutely.
because it has a multiplier of probably about 5 to 10%, right?
Yeah.
So or 5 or 10 times, not percent, 5 or 10
Mhm.
times in terms of economic GDP
That's
or
right.
gross domestic product. And we do have a local growth
Mhm.
GDP, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really important. And I hope our listening audience don't feel like we're going high in the air, but for our business owners, I hope this pricks to you how valuable you are and how necessary and beneficial it is for you to set up inaugural systems and processes.
Absolutely.
Using the resources, using a coach, using an organization that is bent on mentoring and fostering growth in small businesses. It's critical to you and your future profitability to do that because you can't get to close out until you get through setup and operationalization. Y'all, I'm practicing. Y'all hear me? I'm getting it.
Yeah.
Once I get y'all 2025, I'm rolling it off. That's gonna be my word.
Right.
But so let's talk about a business has come through. They've done all the things to set up. They're keeping their books. They're being diligent and being coached, right? They get to the end of the year. Let's talk about how financially they need to set up closeout processes for their business. What does that look like? What is that?
So I'm gonna actually nod to you first because you're in the banking sector. So I think talking about the money side is gonna be probably more important. I can talk about the other stuff.
All right. Well, I'm not going to delve too deep into it, but at the same time, be meticulous. Be meticulous, and it's hard to close out if you don't start correctly. And guess what? 2025 offers you a brand new opportunity to get it right. And a lot of times, and I don't mind speaking from my own personal experience. My CPA sometimes used to be ready to put me out of her office because I would come in and she was like, well, did you pay for this? Did you pay for this? I'm like, of course I did. I had to pay for it. She said, well, where are your receipts? Where are your receipts? And now I got to try to go back to, of course, even with Working Class Wednesday and other smaller things that I do, now I have to go and dig up receipts. So making sure that you're keeping a track record of your finances throughout the year. Because, of course, you have to go see your CPA before you come to see any financial institution because we need to make sure that go and make sure your paperwork is straight before you come to a financial institution and expect us to not require it to be intact. Because I don't care what finance, I don't care if it's a secondary lender, wherever you go, the first thing they're going to ask you to do is show them your proof of income, whatever that may be. So right now, at the end of the year, hopefully, prayerfully, since we're on the gospel station, prayerfully, you have been taking into account not only your expenses, but of course, like Christine said, you've been taking into account what you have cost your business throughout the year. And getting that paperwork ready because I mean those tax deadlines they rapidly approach. Recertification on SunBiz and all those things they rapidly approach. Make sure you're not costing yourself more money because it's expensive.
Yes.
To own and operate a business is expensive, especially in this day and age. So making sure that you are keeping a very well maintained track record of all of your expenses and all of your payouts coming into this end of this fiscal year for your small business, I think it's going to be imperative for setting yourself up for a successful 2025.
And going into that, in terms of the fiscal aspect of it, because everybody doesn't have the funds to have a regular CPA at their expense. They should, and ultimately have somebody they have to look and audit their books. But they may be working on a program. They may be working on QuickBooks, or they may be doing entries there, or they may be, trying to keep account of their records in some space, digitally or application-wise. what would you recommend for someone that's how they keep track? And I know a lot of times banks allow easy transferability of information on accounts to these systems. What is your thought about utilization of those financial systems?
There are a lot of online applications like QuickBooks out there.
Mhm.
If you have a bookkeeper, I mean, they are very affordable, bookkeepers are, but QuickBooks is by far the most user-friendly and easy to integrate with most banks. Most banks integrate very well with QuickBooks. You can just download your transactions. So a couple of things. One, if you have not connected and done your reconciles for each of your month, and that means making sure that everything that's in QuickBooks aligns and connects with all of the transactions in your bank. This makes sure that you're not missing anything and that your bank transactions have all been identified. Like this is marketing, this is web-based applications, this is income that's come in from this kind of sale and from that kind of sale. Then make sure that you go back and do all 12 months. Next would be, if you can, pay all of your 2020 bills in 2024, like all of your 2024 bills in the year that they were created, so that when you close out the end of the year, there's nothing out that are outstanding and lagging that you then have to go back and fix.
Mm-hmm.
Additionally, try to collect all your revenue or sales that you've made in the year.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that you try to collect them by the end of the year, because when they come in 2025, it looks weird because when you did the work and when you got the money are not in the same year, and so that's kind of weird.
That's good.
So collecting your revenue in the year, and try to at least invoice everything that you've done this year so that you can stand to collect in this year. Because if you did, let's say that you did some gardening for somebody and you did it last week, but you don't remember to invoice them until January, then you have the invoice sitting in 1 year, whereas the work was done in another.
Come on now.
So those are just some practical tips to try to help make the closing of those books. So the importance of closing books is to start out the new year fresh.
Yes.
with kind of a zero balance. You start again.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives you the opportunity to look at everything that you did in a year on eyes on that year alone.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes if you talk to a CPA, if you made a certain amount of funds in a year, they might suggest, because it doesn't mess up your bottom line too much, that you invest in capital assets. So let's say that you have a surplus of, and we're going to just love on ourselves.
Come on now.
You got a surplus of $100,000 that you made this year.
Yes.
And you have recognized that if you buy a new work truck or an additional work truck so that you can start a new crew, if you buy that truck in this year, you can write off some of the depreciation in that year. So it doesn't really mess up your bottom line as far as your net profit, because you're reinvesting in the business. So it still looks like you had a profit, but you're reinvesting in the business as opposed to those funds just sitting there waiting to be allocated in some other way. So talk to people in the know, talk to people like Terrence when you go to your bank and you say, I have, what should I do in this space? They can really help guide you on how to best use and reinvest in your business. So those are some practical tips.
That's real good. That's real good.
Yeah.
And listen, so I love the notion, and this is important. I think, collections are what collections are. People just, anyway. You need a back office to collect your money, and you want to get it by the end of the year, but sometimes it just don't get that to January. But you need to pay your bills
That's
that
right.
are due
In that year.
Okay, just
Yeah.
pay them people, right?
Because when you start out in the next year and you've got this debt, these bills hanging over your head, it really messes up that ability to start from zero.
Yes, it does.
So if you can and you're able, try to.
That absolutely. So let's go to the operational aspect of closing out the year. Okay, we run an office, we've hired some folks, we maybe let go of some folks. We've had office hours that have fluctuated. It's the end of the season. We are, some offices are closing at 3:00 every day as opposed to 5 or 6 like they usually do during the holiday season. Talk about operationally how we manage closing out the year.
Okay, so do you mind me ranting for a second?
No,
Okay,
take
this is so much fun for me. So when it comes to the end of the year, we're trying to determine a few things.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do right? What did we do wrong?
Mm-hmm.
How many times throughout the year did we actually check our progress? So were we trying to keep up with ourselves? Because we start out the beginning of the year and we've got these really great goals and we're going to do all of these things and this is how we're going to measure success. And then we put that piece of paper aside and we never look at it again. until the end of the year. Well, how are you supposed to keep up with yourself and your business and your team if you're not keeping up with them along the way? It's hard to hold somebody accountable at the end to go, you should have done that. Well, you didn't tell me that that's what I was supposed to do. So you get all of those excuses. Are you still connected with your target market?
Oh,
Yeah.
come on now.
Whole nother conversation.
Yes. That was rich.
Yeah. Are you still connected with your target market, and are you serving them in the way that they need to be served? Because sometimes throughout the year we pivot, right? Because we see an opportunity and we leave our target market in the dust. Because we're reaching for something else and they get confused. So then you've lost both sectors. Did you fail at something? Because I'm a huge believer that you're not learning anything if you didn't fail at something.
Come on now.
So did you fail at something and what was it? And then who did you help?
That's a good one. That's good. That's
Thanks.
good.
Thanks.
I'm
I'm gonna just leave that one right there because you have a lot of questions on your little piece of paper.
Look. I just got to go back to what you said when you said, "Are you still connected to your target?" Because that is an epidemic.
That's big. That's big. That disconnect between your target audience and your business can be detrimental. And to piggyback off of what Audra said, deadlines not only provide structure, but they provide accountability.
100%.
And the end of the year should not have been your first deadline.
Come on now.
Just to make it to the end of the year.
Come on now, Bishop. Don't say it now.
Monthly deadlines, quarterly deadlines, but in order to create accountability, but not only yourself, but if you have employees, but just in order to make sure that you are meeting those goals throughout the year that will get you to the end of the year. And a lot of times, that's what we're doing. We're flying aimlessly through the year, and then at the end of the year, we're struggling trying to reconcile. Like Audrey said, what did we do wrong? What did we do right? Matter of fact, how many times did we do it wrong? And had you stopped in February of 2024, you would have realized that you had already started. And of course, a lot of times, direction is more important than speed.
Right.
And a lot of times we come out of the gate running. It's a brand new year, but we got plenty of business. We're still connected with our target audience. And by the time we reconcile our books and things at the end of the year, we understand that if we had just took a second and stopped and looked at where we were back in June, maybe we wouldn't be where we are right now in December.
Right.
So I think all of those things are super, super.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna throw this out here. When does a process or system reveal that it is wrong? And how do we go about correcting that system? There may be something that's inherent in what we do that is undermining our productivity and process. How do we go about the process of discovering that? And some of that comes up in HR processes. Some of that comes up in some accounting processes, like we talked about, paying yourself instead of doing that. You sacrifice. What are some of those things that you've identified, right, that are systemic that need to be addressed? And how do you really gangster address them, right? Because they gotta be addressed.
Absolutely. And it's hard. Do you want to answer this one?
I'll start first and let you come because I think you want. Yeah. Okay, so listen. So I think that when you set up your framework, you have to make sure that you are identifying the challenges that you may face ahead of time. And if you start to identify, because of course we all want to talk about these are the opportunities. But when you sit down and you come up with that plan for your year, not just your fiscal year, but for your business for that year, identifying those challenges before you get to them. And once you identify the challenges, you can also identify how you can pivot when you face those certain challenges. And that to me is how you identify the processes that aren't working. Because if the processes that you had in place aren't able to guide you around those challenges that you already anticipated, then you know that it's time to try something else.
Yeah, very good. I couldn't have really said it better myself. I tell in stories. So let's say that you're trying to track how many closes that you need to make in a week or whatever, and you're tracking your calls. But the tracking of your calls doesn't actually reveal whether you're closing or not. So that indicates that your system is wrong or your key performance indicator is wrong. It doesn't answer the question that you're trying to answer.
Come on now. Come on.
So getting into if the system is right or not, is it delivering you the information regarding the result that you are looking for? So maybe instead of tracking the number of calls, you should track the number of follow-ups or the number of closings or the number of calls to close. So then you really need to look at if the system that you're using is really delivering the answer that you're looking for.
Now, you know, people don't use workflow systems.
Mhm.
You know, their workflow system is a text.
All
All back. But I feel what you're saying, because a lot of good work falls to the ground because we don't have those systems in place, right?
Right.
And then when we look at the spends that we're doing in marketing, or the spends we're doing in donations and sponsorships and things like that, we're not seeing the returns because we don't have the proper systems for that information to be determined.
They're so important. I was literally talking to a client yesterday and they're like, I'm moving so fast. And I'm like, well, if you're doing your initial, reach outs or whatever, touch points, but you're not following up, you're so busy doing initial touch points, you're not circling back, which means you're not making closings, because they're not going to get from the initial touch point that you are putting them through a sales process, right?
Right.
A conversation. So you could do 500 touch points, but if you never circle back to the first one, then you're never going to get a close.
Come on now.
And unfortunately, it's our job to take our customers through this conversation of sales, right? With the conveyance that we're the answer to their problem, whatever that answer may be.
That's right.
But they don't know that. They're so busy in their own lives that they don't understand that they're in a sales funnel or a sales conversation. They're just, doing what they do. And so that's our job, our responsibility to follow up and to, continue on there.
And create those sales steps.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't even have like the steps to the sale
That's right.
in place. And I learned a lot about that, of course, back in the car business. If you don't identify what steps you have to take your customer through in order to make this a profitable situation, then of course you already have set yourself up for just shooting in the air now instead of shooting at a target.
So I already told y'all this is a 2-part series. I'm sorry. I apologize already. I know if you're listening, if you're really, really listening, you are getting some real dope, insight into a lot of things. So I want to just kind of follow up on what was just talked about in terms of workflow systems for leads or for clients that are generated from investment, right? You have initiation, you have the follow-up to that lead, then you get the appointment, then you get to a point of service closing, and then you get to post-service, right? Why is this important? Because you can't get to celebrating what you've accomplished until you've taken every opportunity documentationally through those steps where you can pull that information, like you said, from the system to see what we've accomplished.
Absolutely.
Which at the end of the year, is your sales process working? Are you actually using it? Are you teaching it to your team? Is it consistent? Is there fail points in there?
Right.
Where are you most likely to drop the ball, or your team most likely to drop the ball, which results in no sale at all? So these are the things that we look at the end of the year to see if we need to reevaluate what our process is.
Right.
It's the perfect time because you can change it up starting January. Well, this didn't work. This did work. Okay, let's keep this. Let's trash that.
Are you the right person to even be selling your product? A lot of times. Are you the right
need to
person?
fire you.
Do you need to fire you as a salesperson?
Yeah.
A lot of times we have to create these beautiful products, but we shouldn't be the ones selling them.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of times we have to define
Yes.
our weaknesses,
Yes.
not only our strengths, but our weaknesses. And I think a lot of times that is a foundational key to the success of your business.
You are a fabulous carpenter, but do not do the initial work.
Right. We need to keep you in the back.
Yeah, and that's okay.
That's fine.
You can be a craftsman and not be a customer service person.
Which leads us to the point of, because I think that there's so much here. I mean, in terms of, and I see my business flashing before my eyes, right? I see all the things that we've gone through in 21 years, being in all the mistakes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the liability, oh my goodness, and so you're auditing all those things, but you have to even be to that point where you can even do that, right? And is it fair to say that a lot of micro entrepreneurs probably, or entrepreneurs, startups, probably don't have these systems in place?
True indeed. And a lot of times right now when people are scrambling because we want to be so accessible to everyone. Right now we're trying to pull from PayPal. We're trying to pull from what's the other one? Zelle. We got Stripe. We got
Venmo.
Cash App. We got Venmo.
Mhm.
We got Apple Pay. And at a certain point, we're going to consolidate some of those areas of our point of sales.
Mhm.
And because that's where a lot of the confusion comes in when it comes time for you to square up on your books. You having to pull from invoices from 9 different point of
Come on
sales
now.
processes, and a lot of times and I understand that you want to make sure that you're able to collect money. But I mean, if the major industries are taking MasterCard and Visa card, and Walmart won't even let you tap, yet
They sure won't.
yet they still getting paid. We have to kind of, I guess, focus in on that, especially as it pertains to wrapping up the end of the year.
And I think that is a great, and maybe we can end here, because this is where you get to the celebration, right?
Yeah.
We've gotten to some point of profitability, or at least sustainability, right? And I
Right.
think that people need to really recognize that those are two things, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes you may not be profitable, but you're sustainable, right?
Mhm.
You make enough to cover your bills. You may not make a terrible abundance over what you want, but you got something to build upon. You got to build like. Then you get to profitability, where you can actually assess and see, okay, how can we make more money? How can we meet a certain percent? But you can't do that until you have those set up processes in place. So talk a little bit about, and I know this is a 2-part show, and I feel real bad because y'all listening, and we've gotten to close out financially, we've gotten to close out operationally, only scratch the surface really, because this is deep. Like, I got a whole page of notes and y'all looking like it's real deep. Talk about how folks can start today. They ain't organized. That all they stuff all over the place. They got receipts in the bathroom. You know, talk to folk who need to start. They love their business. They love being in business. They just aren't in any type of system or process to really gauge their progress. Talk to those folks today and share with them maybe some points of entry to begin the process of getting themselves together.
My first piece of advice would be, it's called define reality. I need you to face what it looks like today, because without fully becoming aware of because you have some sort of process, whether you've made it up along the way and you text your clients and you send pictures of pieces of paper, whatever it is, define reality for your business today. Because then what we do is we identify the most important priority areas to change that make the most impact, right? So what is the current process? How do you get your clients? Is it word of mouth? Do you do networking? Are you community engagement? How do you get clients? Then how do you service those clients? And then how do you follow up if you do or don't or otherwise? So tell me what the truth is, because without you telling me and yourself what the truth is, you can't change anything.
That's like going to therapy line.
Whatever, business therapy. Come back and see us next month. We'll be right here. So define reality. And then you can begin to say, this is probably the most important part that we change first. How I invoice. Don't make it hard for people to pay you.
Yes,
that's rule of thumb. I want to move into more of a marketing campaign. I really need to define my customer so that I know how to reach them. Whatever it is that you think is going to make the most impact, I really need to hire a bookkeeper. That's going to be my first thing, because I can't do receipts everywhere. Whatever the thing is, and then move in that direction, and that will create a domino effect of positive change within your business. That would be my thought.
That's so good. That was good. I had to write that down. Come on, Claire.
And identify who the stakeholders are in your business. And whereas you can receive educated advice, I see so many small business owners on Facebook every day asking questions to people that don't even know how to run their
they've never run one in their life.
But they got such great advice as to what to do. So get out and network. Follow places up. Working Class Wednesday is an awesome opportunity. Get out and network and identify who the stakeholders are in your business. You need to identify who the people are you can call before you get into trouble at the end of the year. Make sure that you don't have to hire a CPA to be able to get advice.
That's right.
From a CPA. You don't have to hire a bookkeeper to be able to get advice from a book. You don't have to hire a banker. You don't have to receive a loan to get loan advice from someone in that industry. So identifying who those people are that you can trust with the knowledge, that have the knowledge
I heard that
to
3
give you
times.
educated advice on what you need to do as it pertains to your business. To me, that is what I would suggest. If you right now, if you all mixed up right now, if you want to get on the right path and you don't have the resources, make sure that you're being resourceful.
That's right. That's right.
And getting out and getting to know the people that are in these industries who've shown some success in these industries before you start asking for that advice.
So we want to invite first of all, y'all, again, this is part 1. All right. This has been so rich. And I wish we had more than 1 minute left on the show, but we don't. So I am going to definitely try to wrap this up as succinctly as possible, knowing there's no way I can really close out all this because it's so rich. But I will post points of power on my Facebook post, after this broadcast, and we'll make sure we repost this broadcast as well directly so people can really rehear this. Also, we want to invite you all. Working Class Wednesday is celebrating their 8th anniversary, and I believe there's something going on tonight.
8-year anniversary tonight at 508. Let me make sure I got that right here, Uncle. 508 West Brevard Street, down in the heart of the Frenchtown District, man. Working Class Wednesday, the relaunch of exclusive VIP fashions by Epwood. Shout out to my father. Shout out to my Uncle Kenny. Lenores. And that's what we'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. Man. We're gonna have food, drinks. It's gonna be a great time. A fashion show. Shout out to LaCora and Company, Nicole. Conversation with Nicole. DJ L Smooth. If I missed anyone, blame it on my head. Got my heart. We only got like 20 seconds, but yes, tonight, 508 West Brevard Street from 6 to 9 p.m. Working Class Wednesday, the 8th-year anniversary celebration.
Great entry point into learning all of the things that it needs in order to get yourself on track. So next year, you can actually close your business out. If you are a small business and you're functional but you need some help in kind of getting more focus and direction, Audra is a business coach. She is available to most clients. Look, I have gone to Audra for advice, and listen, she looks nice, but she don't play. All right. If you are a business serious about moving forward your organization and getting yourself structured correctly and making hard choices, you definitely want to check out Audra Fournier. She is available as a master business coach, and we will make sure that she's made available on this broadcast. We thank you, first of all, for tuning in this holiday season. We hope you all are making sure that you're keeping family a priority, that you take some time this season to close out and to rest so that you can be rejuvenated to get started on next year's business. But we definitely encourage you to close out well and to end prosperously, and as well as in a way that sets you up for healthy business activity in the next year. We will host this conversation again in part 2 next month. They may be back, and we may invite a few other businesses to give more insight. But our community, as you heard earlier, we have over 22,000 businesses within our local area. So it's more important to me to make sure these businesses get the information they need to take the steps in the direction of profitability and purpose, so that we can all benefit from their success. Thank y'all for tuning in. You've been listening to the Greg James Community Show, to the Check, and we look forward to seeing y'all next Wednesday at 2 p.m. To all of you who will be traveling, happy holidays and our wishes for a prosperous and successful new year. God bless.
Yay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Listen, if you've been listening live on the Facebook, we thank y'all so much for tuning in. Listen, I promise this has been rich. We want to make sure that we continue to keep the conversation going. Please tag and share, post broadcasts. We'll make sure we post. And we want you all to know we appreciate your viewership and your listenership throughout this year. Y'all take care. Happy holidays and have a great new year. Yay!
That was good, y'all.
That was good.
And I'm still pressing the button on the screen, and this is not a screen. I love y'all. Y'all have a happy new year.